Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to work on this page. I have already done some prep work, which I'll tell you about in a second. So, of course, I want to try out the Derwent drawing pencils, which I already did in the background, but I wanted to share it today with you. So, we have already looked at their swatches, which if you haven't seen it yet, I'll try to link the video somewhere here. 72 color set, 48 new colors in addition to the existing 24. So that's the summary of it. As a disclaimer, Derwent has sent to me this beautiful set to try out and see what I think. They haven't asked me to do any reviews, they haven't asked me to feature them, they haven't asked me to do any of it. I'm doing it because it's my favorite, all-time favorite pencil texture, and so I'm really excited that the range has been extended with all these gorgeous colors. So now let's talk a little bit about this page here, what I have done. So we have got a color wheel here, which will feature all of the colors that I will use in these illustrations. We've got a girl illustration, and we've got two kind of similar looking botanical pieces here. So for the girl, I'm intending to use a bit of acrylic paint, acrylic marker rather, on the base, and to show you how beautifully the Derwent drawing pencils layer over the top for portraiture. They have some of my favorite, absolute favorite colors here for portraiture, which I have been using for years and years and years. And now in addition there is more, so we will explore that. And here I will do one over watercolor and one just the pencils, kind of blending and showing you how it sort of looks. So that's the idea. Here we have top favorite, 8 colors. So first of all, I thought to say top 5, but I very quickly realized the 5 would mostly cover just the kind of the new color range, but I wanted to look at the set as a whole. So from the previous colors alone, there is a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 colors. Okay, so I had to consider more colors. It's impossible. Even to pick 8 was a hard task because I love the colors individually. They're really, really beautiful. Not a single color that doesn't appeal to me. Shameless plug, I helped myself a little bit by stamping some of these images. So for the wheel, if you're interested, I used my color wheel here from the color palette, clear stamp sets. For the top 8, I used this strip here and have a number of different swatching options here from the palette swatches set, if you like your swatches to look neat. Then for this girl illustration, I used some of the elements from the moving doll set, so the eyes, lips and the face, but you can create a cute little moving doll illustration. And then the summer florals, some of it I have hand drawn and other bits I have added on just to kind of have this sort of identical similar look. And I believe I used a number of different elements over here, a couple of those I think I've used, yeah. So you can create loads of kind of botanical clusters. So these are available in some other products you may find, like the round acrylic block on my website, alonacreates.com, in case you're interested. And finally, I wanted to show you some artwork where I used some of those pencils over acrylic markers. So we can see we've got this girl here with some of the pencil over the acrylic marker. We've got acrylic marker over here, again with pencils blending over it to create some depth. So that's what we are going to look at today. And then another example how you can use it even over acrylic paints, and this particular one is acrylic gouache. I believe it was the Holbein acrylic gouache, and basically blending pencils over. Another example for you is this one here, again adding lovely kind of textural effects and highlights even. So here you can see the Derwent drawing. Terracotta, Mars Orange and Light Sienna, they have been my top favorite pencils, along with the Chinese White as well for portraiture and kind of skin tones. And here is a more recent one, again over, I believe, acrylic gouache, and, you know, just kind of blending pencils over it. So that's that. And then from all the work, which dates, I don't know, years ago, this is all of the Derwent drawing pencils here that I've used for this girl. Right here across her skin and face. And then here again the terracotta, Mars Orange, Cinnamon. Oh no, that's different, I think. Not sure. But Light Sienna, so those three. And then here we have Mars Orange, Sanjuine, Terracotta, Venetian Red and Light Sienna. So kind of these 5 colors on the face. This was over, I think, either liquid watercolor or acrylic inks diluted. And this was over the acrylic markers, which creates a lovely texture like sandpaper. And you can see how beautiful the face ends up looking. So those are the kind of the aspects that we will cover today. So get yourself a cup of coffee. I've got mine here ready. And we're going to have a lovely session. I don't know how long this will be. This is going to be about art, so I don't want to be rushed. I want to enjoy this. And just to let you know, there's another video coming with larger swatches where it will be bam, 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 just the swatches. We won't be talking much about anything else if you just want to see large swatches on their own. So that's still coming, so stay tuned for that one. Okay, so watercolor takes longest to dry. So I think I'm going to add watercolor to this area first, and then we're going to work on the face with the acrylic markers and kind of work our way through the page. Okay, one more thing I'm going to mention before we start. The way I use the clear stamps is, it's not a secret, I've been sharing this for years, but if you're new here, this is the ink that I'm using. It's the Tim Holtz Distressing Tattered Rose. I mean, this little one, goodness, it's like, what, 5 years old, maybe longer? And it's still going. I've never replaced it and always use it for my clear stamps. I just love the fact that it's kind of nude, and then if I wanted to kind of stay in the background and just help me with situating my swatches, I leave it nude and don't line it out. So you can see once I'll put the color over, you won't see any kind of lines. It all just sort of blends in. Or if I want to make it look like I have illustrated the whole thing, I just use a fine liner. So in this case, I've used the Copic multi-liner. It's water and Copic proof, 0.3. It's a great one, but anything that you have, it could be Faber-Castell, it could be Derwent, it could be one of those Pigma Micron, whatever works best for you. They are all waterproof. And then for stronger details like the eyeliner and the chalker, I always like to use Uni Posca in black, and there are different nib sizes. Okay, so for watercolor, I'm going to use my own palette and my own watercolor. Simply because they're so small, it's very easy for me to just pop it on my sketchbook and get going. Because if I start pulling out my larger palettes, I just don't have space for it. So when I want a quick watercolor session, I tend to just pull out my own and get going. So these are the colors I already used before, so I'm just going to mix into it. We've got chartreuse. This is, by the way, my ultimate palette. They're handmade watercolors, and you can find them all in the same place as the clear stamps. And I will link my shop down below for you to find it easier. For the brush, I'm also using Princeton Velvet Touch Long Round 4. Love these brushes, been using them a lot because they're great for smaller details, especially if you like kind of these denty illustrations, then that's a brush I would highly recommend to look at. Okay, so just going to add a bit of color by just stippling it, and we will create that sort of gradient lovely effect where there's a bit more saturation of the watercolor, and then it kind of blends into lighter color. So I'm going to wash my brush out, kind of dry it out a little, and then on the other end I'm just going to blend in the corners, leaving some highlights, so we end up with a lovely little kind of contrast. If I just start covering the entire petal, or leaf in this case, then what will happen, it will just become a bit flat. So here watercolor started drying up a bit, so I'm going to refresh it, dab it onto it, and then very quickly wash my brush out again, get some extra liquid out, and just let the watercolor do its thing, move around, and all of that good stuff. So I'm gonna do it here, and this is just going to be a pencil on their own. I'm going to mix up a slightly darker green. Now with my cobalt teal, it's a fabulous color to add into greens, into any mixes really, because what happens is once it granulates and separates, it kind of adds these beautiful speckles of turquoise. So I highly recommend you try it out. I have designed all 5 colors as kind of my favorite mixes. Okay, so I'm just going to show you a quick close-up. I finished with the colors, so you can see the beautiful granulation happening over the greens and some of the reds here. So I've taken Opera Pink here, which is not part of my limited color palette, but you can see all of these are beautifully kind of natural toned, deep sort of colors that go really well with the Derwent drawing color palette. So I thought again that sort of works well. But if you want to add a bit of oomph, a bit of sort of vibrancy, you can just bring in another watercolor and sort of mix it in, and immediately you get these lovely kind of bursts of bright color. So for the next aspect, I'm going to start on her skin, and I'm going to get my acrylic marker, and this one is called Skin Pastel. The color is Skin Pastel, and it's by Molotov. It's the 2mm marker. I'm kind of thinking of getting the same color in different sizes, you know, maybe bigger one to cover areas faster and smaller to go around details. So all I'm gonna do here is just start by adding color, and I'm kind of working in a line, and then just kind of line things out and go around certain details, like the eyebrow. Go as close as you can, but don't cover it, because you know you want to maintain the detail. So I'm going to add this acrylic marker everywhere in the same manner, and I will see you once I'm done, so we can enjoy adding pencil to it. Okay, so I have also added another color, which is the Blue Violet Pastel, to the bowl, because it's kind of very similar to Polar Ice and Royal Blue, kind of in between the two. And I thought, you know, since they're part of my favorites, I wanted to kind of bring in that color in a different medium. I have now picked the, what is it, the Dusty Pink. And I'm also going to get the Ash Rose, and I'm not going to color match anything, because obviously we don't have these bright pinks here, as it's a natural color palette. However, I'm going to just, you know, do similar colors, color families. So Ash Rose. This, by the way, is also a Derwent sharpener, and I love using it. It's so amazing. It's battery operated, but what you do here is you've got sizes, 2 different sizes for your pencils, and it just does it in seconds. Literally just go in and out, and look at the point. And I'm going to demonstrate to you exactly what I said in the first video, that you can, although these are very soft pencils and beautifully layerable, they are great at their sharpest too. So We're going to start with Ash Rose, and I'm going to go in at the corner right here, and just first of all just kind of layer gently. I'm going to leave a highlight as well in the center, and then just start bringing it in. And then I'm going to go to the corner, it's super sharp, and get this very thin line, and it really goes in there beautifully. So look at this, just like that. Just keep turning the pencil to get a sharp point. So you can see quite a bit of layer of pigment went on, but it's still quite sharp, so we didn't lose the point. Okay, now with the dusky pink I'm going to go in and start blending, and it just blends like heaven. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to now pick a darker color, burnt rose, for that kind of deepening and darkening, and just add it right here. Okay, I'm going to repeat all the same on the other one. And now I want to try and go in with my strawberry. I say my because I love this color. And I'm just going to add it just to bring an element of color. Just a few lines like so, and then a bit more at the bottom. So we've got a little bit more color now, and I'm thinking let's go with Rioja, which is a really gorgeous wine type of a color, and we're going to add it at the bottom. Okay, so with a really sharp point we're going to go in. Wow, just so beautiful. So at this point we have got at least 4 different layers, and look what a difference it makes. And I can go super close to the line. Look how sharp this is. There we go, look at that. Super sharp. Yet they're very soft, so I don't know how Derwent has achieved that combination, but I feel like a pro, and trust me, I am not a pro when it comes to pencils, but I do love using them, and using Derwent drawing pencils makes me feel like a pro. You just cannot go wrong with them, you cannot mess up, okay? Look at that. So if I spend, you know, half an hour, I could perfect it more and more, but I just want to show you a fast version of what you can achieve, okay? So that's that. Let's go into greens now. I'm going to lift this layer, and we've got some delicious greens. So I'm gonna have a look and see. I quite like the fresh green and the moss green to begin with, and then we can add darker colors as well. So let's start with fresh green. Again, leaving a highlight. First I'm just going really lightly, and then secondly I'm turning my pencil to get the very sharp edge and go right by the line, kind of line it out, and that creates an optical illusion of something spherical. Moss green. I think the rule for me personally is three colors. So the lightest, the middle, and the darkest. So now I'm going to go for the darkest, rainforest. We're going to just add a little line here, and then I'm going to go back in and blend it. And I'm going to blend it with the lightest color. It feels like a play session with these, just so effortless. Especially if you get hand fatigue in your arms, it really is quite effortless the way it goes on. You don't need to add any pressure. It becomes really pleasurable experience. Okay, and now a bit more of the middle color. You can just go back and forth until you get where you want to be in terms of your blends and your mixes and gradual kind of color blending. Okay, so you can see they almost look like little 2Ps. Let me show you closer. Look. So here we go. Can you see how this is a lot more dimensional than the watercolor? So then later adding the pencils on top of the watercolor will create a kind of a different effect. So I'm just going to go ahead in the same manner, finish off these foliage here. I'm going to use, what am I going to use? I'm thinking color wise, I'll probably blend in some yellow as well. Mustard and gold looking good. So I'm going to use mustard and gold with this green for the leaves. Let me just do one and then I'll switch off and carry on, just so I don't end up with a super long video, because you know YouTube doesn't like too long videos. I'm going to start with the fresh green. Let me just do it on the larger leaves here so you can see better. Just like that. And really blending it out into nothing. Leaving some of the white of the paper, but again, that's up to you. That's a stylistic choice for me. So if you are watercolorists at heart, basically think about it the same way. Where would you add more watercolor and where would you kind of blend it out with water, then just less pressure with a pencil? That's how it works really. So I'm just going to blend now the gold over the green to achieve a more yellow kind of look to it. And then I'm going to go back in with the green and layer it still. Now it's time to go into the moss green for a little bit more green. Just like that, and then the darkest one I'd just apply right at the corner, and I'd be very, very careful because it's such a strong color. I wouldn't want it to be popping too much here. Then just blend through. And you know, you can go and perfect it as much as you want, add it onto the tip if you want to, pull it out as much as you want to, blend it out as much as you want, layer it with colors. This is now, you know, pencils are kind of, they obviously take longer than watercolor, but you can really relax into it, just seeing your kind of blends change more and more eventually because they just become so gradual. I would say I need something even darker And you know what? Let's go with forest. That's a beautiful, beautiful black with a slight green hint. And that's gonna go at the very, very tip. It just makes things pop and adds a bit more contrast. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same technique over the others. Let me just show you a closer look. It's starting to come together nicely, isn't it? It's almost, when you look at pencils, it kind of makes it pop from like out of the page. So let me finish these and we'll catch up. I have to tell you, I'm having such a good afternoon here, just really enjoying working with these pencils. So here is the finished look. Nice and simple, you know, nothing too intricate. What I'm going to do now is on this side, just those two leaves and this kind of flower element here, I'm going to layer the pencil over and leave this without the pencil, just to kind of show you the difference. So I'm going to do a similar thing that I've done, going into the colors that we already have pulled out. By the way, I haven't had to resharpen any of the pencils. That time that I sharpened them, they're still going. So I finished all of this without resharpening anything. Okay, so I'm going to now add a bit of this green. Onto here. Now blend it out and blend over it as well. And then going into such a thin layer that it sort of dissolves. The key here is we don't want to cover up the entirety of the watercolor, but we want to blend it out and leave some of the watercolor still there, visible. Okay, and now I'm going to go into the darker green. Is this one here. And then again, layering with the lighter green. And then the darkest of them is the forest. I'm just going to add a touch of it right in the corners. So you can see I'm using the exact same colors as I did before. And the kind of difference that you get with adding a bit more contrast. I'm going to do the same technique over here. Again, the key here is not to lose the majority of our beautiful watercolors. So I'm just going to be very cautious and just add a tiny bit. And that's it. Over here I'm going to go into the same colors that I have already arranged, and I'm just gonna add my darkest yet. Wow, look at that. The immediate contrast that we get. Although you might have thought that the watercolor is fine as it is, doesn't really need much, but look how it sort of changes immediately. Going to add this pink a little bit on top. And a bit of that orange. Let's go with a bit of the strawberry as well. and then a bit of the warmth. Can you see how we've got that orange here? So I'm just gonna add a bit of this pencil. And where watercolor didn't go, I'm just gonna fill in this white line like that. And now, using the same pink as before, which is dusky pink, I'm just going to blend it out. And it blends out so smoothly and beautifully. Okay, and I'm gonna go back into this Rioja color and just add a bit more contrast. And back in with the pink. That's it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. You get a good idea, I think, from this exercise. I could carry on, but you can see immediately there is kind of that finished look to it. And now this side of the illustration, just with the watercolor, almost looks like it's unfinished, doesn't it? So that's the beauty about pencils, whether you like using them over watercolor or on their own. On their own, they have more of a penciled texture, but again, it all depends on your skill and how much time you want to spend to blend it out completely and to have it so smooth that you won't even see these kind of pencil texture. So that's that. Now I want to do the face, and I always like my girls, so I'm gonna really enjoy that. We have got 16 color swatches, although I've done previously you can do less and more. If you have less swatches, I'd kind of skip one of the colors like in between. If I have more, I would kind of halve them and add more. So there's like, you know, variation that you can do. But I had 3 spaces and that was just perfect because for the skin, I always like to use terracotta, sandrine and Mars orange. And then I also decided to try out the new oyster, which traditionally I always use the white, Chinese white for highlights. But I thought today I'm going to try out the oyster because it has that pinky tint to it. It's a white with a pink basically undertone. So that's what we're going to do, and the rest of the colors I will go through and use whatever I already have here, which is perfect. Okay, so let me start with, actually, you know what? I just realized. Okay, I'm going to use a few more and just swatch them around here. I'm not going to restrict myself with the colors. I'm going to pick a couple of blues. So we've got Polar Ice and Deep Atlantic. I'm going to use for her, no, maybe Delft Blue. You know what? Let me use Delft Blue. That's nice and bright. Okay, Delft Blue. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to use those 2 for her eye color. In fact, I need a third one. So let's use teal blue. I do feel like using teal blue, and then I'll use the white to blend things out. Okay, so this is our eye color combo to go with the bow. I think it'll be super pretty. Let's start with the eyes first. So I'm going to use the darkest Delft Blue, and I'm going to go in at the corner. Wow, butter, butter, butter. I think Delft Blue we had, didn't we? Let me just double check. Delft Blue, no we didn't. We did not. So it's new. It's beautiful. I'm telling you, it will be very hard for me to just pick 8 favorites because just so many good colors here. Okay, so here I'm going to blend over that thick, strong line and add this beautiful polar blue. Wow. I mean, look at that color. So I'm going to fill 1/3 of her eye with this color, roughly speaking. And then I'm going to use the lighter color, which is the teal blue, and just blending it over. And now, with the oyster, I'm just going to pull it out for that super smooth effect. That's how I like to paint my girl's eyes. Now I'm going to go back into Delft Blue and very little pressure, just pull this color a little bit more into the polar eyes, because otherwise it looks like a strong line that's visible. Okay, wow, loving it. So gorgeous, beautiful. Okay, so that's our eyes done. Can you see how I've done a nice contour here? I think I might, instead of a contour, do a blush, because this is a more elongated face. Contour on her will look a little bit funny, and I'm gonna go with the darkest color first. And let's do the eye socket first. So I'm gonna go around here and here. This part will take the longest, because we have two sides to do the same thing, but it is so much fun that you won't see it as a chore. It will be more pleasure than kind of a job that you have to do. Okay, just 3 colors that I'm holding in my hand, and I'm going to swap them and kind of carry on that way. By the way, if you haven't liked the video yet, don't forget to do it. It helps a lot. These videos are super time consuming, and it would help if you could support the channel by subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff. So you can see I'm just gently taking it out. First color was terracotta, being the darkest, sundew in the middle color, and then we've got the Mars orange, which has got the warmest tone, that's it. Okay, so about there. So with the face, I find it's better, rather than overdoing things, just stopping and moving on to another part of the face and then coming back if you need to. Let's just do around the face, frame her face a little bit, adding a bit more contrast. Shall I just do one half of the face and leave the other one to kind of see what it was like? Just going to pull it out just a little bit. And now again, going to go into my middle color, blend it, and the orange. Now I'm blending the two together and kind of leaving it at that. So nose and the socket, that's like the most kind of hardest one. So I'm going to do the socket here first. So like a strong line. And then blending that in. Now just covering this entire area with the Mars orange. And I'm going to bring in some of that white just here, just to kind of highlight things. Just to blend things in, make it look really smooth. Look at that. I'm just pushing that color a bit back. And let's work a little bit on her nose. Down here. Just like that. I tend to kind of not overwork it, leave it nice and simple, and just kind of bring a bit of a highlight onto the bridge of her nose. And generally there's a highlight on the forehead as well, so I'm going to bring that into here. and then start blending these kind of colors through like that. And then I'm going to look into a blush type of color, and I'm going to refer, so strawberry will be her lip naturally. So let's see, is that strawberry? Yeah, so let's do her lip, and then we'll come back to the other bits. That's a beautiful, beautiful, warm, jammy strawberry color. I got it a little bit on her tooth. If you got something on the white teeth, the best thing to do would be like bleed proof white over the top, just if you really want to have them super white. And then in terms of her blush, I'm going to try this pink and see if it's going to show up. Barely, but maybe that's a good thing. Look, that's actually quite good. It's got that lovely blue tone in it, and so it works well with the blue of her eyes and the bow details. I'm just gonna blend it through like that, and just gonna do a bit more blending here, so under her chin and on one side of her body, just to continue that kind of shadow line. And then the white. Okay. And now just look where you want a bit more kind of blending and add some more contrast, and just play that way. For the hair, we can do some cool kind of oranges, again strawberry. Let's do strawberry, and then, no, that's not strawberry. Where is strawberry gone? Strawberry port, and not port, Rioja, and some orange, which is the orangiest out of them all. Let's do autumn leaf. Rust is a good one as well, so I'm gonna just use a variation of these two. So I'm going to start with strawberry first, just a little. Remember that reds and oranges work beautifully well with blues, and so that's the color wheel we're thinking about, like the colors that work nicely and pop up against each other. And then we've got kind of these sort of oranges coming through, but also blending. The strawberry red works really nicely with some oranges in it. Couple of strands, and then port being the darkest, just going to add it here like so, and then just kind of blending these colors together just like that. We could try and add some blonde into it, a bit of yellow. See if we like it or if it's too much. That may be a little bit too much, so I'm just gonna Go over with orange. Just like that. And then maybe some of that pink, actually, dusky pink. That could be a good color. It's a bit more on the muted side. So then you can go with the white and just kind of add some lightness to it and blend the whole thing together. And then it's just up to you. If you want to add more contrast, you just look at your piece and decide if that needs any more contrast. Beauty about these pencils, you can just layer endlessly, really. I'm going to try and add this bluey pink over the top of that yellow. This is good, but I feel like I want some more orange. So I'm just going to take the rust and go over wherever I want a bit more red tone or orange tone. Just like that. Okay, that's our girl. Let me give you a little close-up. And you could go ahead and do a lot more. So the only thing that I have done in addition is I've taken the oyster color and blended all of this area. So the background of this acrylic marker is no longer untouched by the pencil. So I'm blending the blush and the under eye area with the skin, leaving the blush obviously as it is, just blending the edges. So all of this area I have added the white, and that kind of, hopefully you can see, kind of created a very mild highlight compared to the flat area here. So we're pushing this area back and then bringing this area kind of, so the eye socket back and the face forward. So that's a nice trick to do. And that is it. So it's time to now swatch all of these pencils out. I'm going to arrange them into color order. Okay, so I've done some dental work on her. So you can see I fixed the teeth, and then also you can do the same thing on the white of the eye if you get a little bit of pencil there or some sort of marking. So that kind of makes things really pop, and I just use the smallest brush that I can find. This is just some old one, Pro Art brush, but yeah, the tiniest one that you can get hold of. This is 40, and just the tiniest amount of water, just wet your brush a little bit and dip it into this very thick kind of paste-like substance, and it's fantastic. So that's what you can do. And now I'm going to swatch out these beautiful pencils that I put in the arrangement that they come in. Apologies if the light is going, but I've been at it now for quite a while, so I'm determined to finish this video. Okay, so we're going to start with mustard. Gold. I have decided to swatch out the skin colors separately. Those will be the three that didn't fit in, including the white one. Autumn leaf. So I'm going to swatch out all of these colors that we used today. I lost the natural light in our last session, and so I thought today I want to have the nice kind of natural light to showcase these colors as they are. So I have swatched out all of the colors that we used in the illustrations here, and I have done also a gradual kind of darker, middle and light range here as well. You can see how beautiful they are. And it has taken me about 20 minutes to deliberate about the original 8 colors that I wanted to pick for my top favorites, and I very quickly realized it is going to be impossible because I had quite a range already from the 24 color set that I wanted to mention, and the quite a few new red ones, and it was impossible to squeeze them into just 8 colors. So what I decided to do is I'm going to show you 8 of my favorite skin tone kind of portraiture type of colors, and you could take them darker with the colors that I have selected here, but essentially they are for kind of more Caucasian type of skin. But you could, like I said, add more of the darker colors. There is a really good color if you wanted to add even darker tones. That would be sepia red and Venetian red and chocolate. So all 3 have been available in the 24 set. So if you wanted to use those to darken the skin tones, you could do that. So that's what I'm going to do for the skin tone here. Then I picked a white, a black and a gray. And then also I decided I absolutely had to have 2 blues and 2 greens. So this is what I had to kind of draw a line, a total of 15 colors, because otherwise there's just too many colors to pick, and it's very hard to even just pick those 15 because we are looking at such a beautiful range. There's, like I said before, there's kind of these kind of muted turquoisey greens, and there are these beautiful deeper tones as well, like the grape and delft blue, another stunning dark blue, ink blue. There's just, you know, I could sit here and tell you a little color story about each and every one of those. Mustard, gold, apricot, all of those colors are super pretty and really kind of visually stimulating. I can connect the colors to the illustrations that I have in mind. For example, if I look at this range, I know I'm going to do a cheek with that. If I'm looking here, it's more kind of a lip. Then the blues immediately strikes me as an accent color or as an eye color, things like that. And of course, I love this full range of grays, really beautiful array of stunning grays. All right, so let's start by swatching out our kind of skin tones here. So we've got oyster being the lightest one. Then we have dusky pink, and ash rose is another fantastic one. But like I said, I had to draw a line somewhere, and I picked dusky pink because it kind of works better with the skin tones. But then, of course, for makeup, ash rose is a great blush tone. So dusky pink. So these 2 are from the new colors. Then we have rust, which is your red toned kind of deep orange, earthy orange. Then we have strawberry, rioja, and now we're moving on to the 3 colors which were available in the original 24. Mars orange is going to be your kind of lightest tone out of the 3. And then we have Sanjuin. This is a classic. So slightly more red tone. And finally terracotta, so that's the darkest tone in terms of the skin colors. The rioja is great for creating depth and, you know, things like lip colors, and so these 2 would be great lip colors as well, the strawberry and the rioja. Now let's move on to the black, the gray and the white. For black, I had to choose Midnight, which is from the new color range. And the Midnight is just such a gorgeous kind of, it's like a super dark blue, but it's a black with a green blue undertone. So forest has more green. This one has less green. Really great option to just a matte flat black. So this one is not flat. It has a really kind of nice depth to it, which is an interesting thing to say about a black color. Okay, and then for the gray, I picked Fossil Gray, which is this one here. It's just such a stunning kind of slightly lilac-y, slightly pink tones that you can pick up on. Really, really beautiful. And it's a very solid, very opaque color, very creamy. You will notice that although they're all very smooth, some of them are even smoother than others. So Fossil is one of them, Fossil Gray. It literally is super, super soft. A joy to work with. And then Chinese White, that had to be included because it's my top favorite white colored pencil, and it's amazing for highlights. It's just that white without any tints to it. Perfect, great blending color, so that had to be done. Now let's move on to our blues. For the two blues, of course, Polar Ice and Royal Blue. I had to pick those colors. They're just stunning. There's no other way to describe them. So first, Polar Ice. Just such a beautiful popping color. I mean, even if you're not doing portraiture, even if you're not doing botanical art, say for example abstract art, this color would pop so beautifully in your piece next to you, like warm toned red, oranges and all of that. So this is a must-have for sure. Another stunning blue is the Royal Blue, which is a deeper, darker tone, kind of more violet in there, I'd say. Kind of like a violet toned blue, maybe lilac, deep lilac. Okay, and then the two greens, of course, Fresh Green. Wow, love, love, love. Look at this color. It's like chartreuse and green gold mixed together. It's a more kind of, I don't know if I could say more natural chartreuse. Not quite chartreuse, obviously, but it's just a more glowing green gold with loads and loads of yellow. Like imagine if I took chartreuse as a watercolor and then on top layered green gold. That's gonna make the green gold glow even more. Moss Green is the second green. Okay, so like I said, from 8 colors I went up to 15, and that was already really, really, really hard. Trust me on that. So that is it. Really stunning colors. Just to give you a nice close-up. Like that. I don't think I will kind of write the names down because they're just right opposite of my swatching page, so I can kind of refer to that information really quickly. I hope you enjoy this deep dive. I had a lot of fun. Next thing I'm planning to work on is larger swatches. So I'm just gonna do swatches, not much kind of chatting. It will be focusing just on the swatches, and maybe I will kind of talk about the color as I'm swatching, maybe, you know, the color correlation to art. Okay, so that is it, my lovelies. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, all of those good things that help to grow a channel, and I will see you next time.